Thank you so much, panelists, for that discussion. As Shilpanti mentioned, we will commence our next and final panel, in which the judges of the MindSpeak essay competition will share the youth insights they read in the essays.
All right, so before that, I kind of wanted to explain to everyone what this essay competition actually was, right? So the Shift Certified MindSpeak essay was an essay competition where students were challenged to delve into the intricacies of modern mental health, proposing impactful solutions, dismantling stigma, and championing resilience, right? We got over 65 submissions. Man, I wish we did that, right, Priyanka?
Me too.
Oh my, unfortunately, next year, guys, next year, right? So these submissions range from personal stories all the way to analytical research papers, right? We had a really, really large breadth, right? All by students, okay? Through their writing, students considered topics around resilience, a supportive environment, coping mechanisms, and so much more.
We had 4 judges for this competition, so let's begin introducing them. Our first judge was Dr. Lang, who is an English teacher at Livingston and has been one for almost 20 years. I was lucky enough to actually have her as my 8th grade teacher. She is a Teach Asian American Stories Fellow and NJ Teacher Education Policy Fellow.
All right, up next, we have Mrs. Seema Kumar. Seema Kumar is a New Jersey teacher and on the board of Make Us Visible New Jersey, which plays a pivotal role in the passage of AAPI curriculum bills in New Jersey. Seema leads professional development at the E Pluribus Unum project, working to transform education in New Jersey to be more inclusive. Now, unfortunately, Dr. Lang and Seema Kumar could not be here today due to unforeseen circumstances.
Our next judge is E.R. Frank, who is a licensed clinical social worker and psychotherapist who specializes in trauma. She's also a novelist with 5 books published by Simon & Schuster. Several of her books have been challenged or banned, a status which inspires both pride and frustration. These days, E.R. Frank runs her own private practice as a therapist in Brooklyn.
All right, our last judge is Dr. Rosemary McGee. Dr. Rosemary McGee is a licensed clinical mental health counselor and a nationally certified psychoanalyst in Livingston, New Jersey. She teaches medical humanities, is an author and publisher, and has worked with high school students and children. She holds a doctorate in medical humanities, a master's in clinical mental health counseling, and a certificate in modern psychoanalysis. She is also the president emeritus of Miss Wilson's Halfway House for Women in Morristown, New Jersey. Judges, take it away.
I must say, it was an honor to read these essays. The students did such a fine job, from very personal and heartfelt essays to more academic and researched pieces, as well as, somewhere in between. So I was honored to read them. The kids were so articulate and did such a great job describing either mental health problems or just generally what's going on with youth mental health. So happy to have done this with the students.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm glad to see so many people here. I was also really honored to be asked to participate in this. It's so important. And it was really fascinating to me to read over 65 essays by kids, tweens and teens essentially, about these topics. It was pretty illuminating. And I was really impressed. There were lots of fantastic ideas, and I would say many of the essays, as Rosemary said, were academic, but also quite a handful that felt very personal, and I was really impressed with the vulnerability that the student writers really conveyed. It was quite impressive. So what we want to do is we want to share with you what came up in these writings. And again, some of it was academic, some of it was more creative, but there were some things that stood out for us. So do you want to start with something?
Whoops. So we thought we would, we kind of arranged our thoughts in terms of some of the themes. And throughout these 65 essays, themes came up over and over and over again. Sort of the large sort of umbrella themes. One was the challenges that young people face trying to find support. So that's sort of one umbrella category. There were a lot of essays that leaned toward positivity, which was really hopeful, and they, had many suggestions about how to help themselves or help each other, and how to think through a situation. So there's kind of a category of positivity, which I think is important. When we think about resilience, I think resilience was one of the, maybe one of the words, right? Resilience was part of the call for papers to begin with. So that was another category. And then we want to touch, both of us are therapists, work with adolescents and young people, and we wanted to touch on the symptomology that was brought up in these essays, and acknowledge how kids struggle with all of these symptoms, and not just kids. I mean, we all struggle with a lot of the symptoms that the kids are struggling with today. And then a couple of other things. I know the previous panel talked about stigma. We want to talk about that just a little bit, but maybe in a slightly different way, and then maybe touch upon what the schools can do to help overall. But I think you got some of that in the last panel as well, so we're not going to dwell on that too much. Okay.
So if it's all right, I would love to start with the idea of status versus stigma. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, I think that that's something that both of us think is an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. So what we noticed in the essays was that there was, sorry about that, I'm too far away from the mic. There was a lot of, there seemed to be an equal amount of content in these essays about mental illness being a stigma, being a terrible thing, and a lot of shame and uncertainty and vulnerability about asking for help because of what it might mean in negative ways about that person, what it might mean to their parents, what it might mean to teachers and friends, that if I am depressed or anxious or I'm having intrusive thoughts, there's really something terribly wrong with me and nobody can know, which is, as of course everyone would recognize, is very damaging. But on the flip side, there was this idea of having a mental health issue as being cool, as being like cool and or so typical that why whine about it? Well, everyone is depressed, everyone is anxious, everyone has a therapist. And so in the idea of it being either normal or a status, there was some of the, well, especially one essay, I believe, yeah, I won't say anything about which one, but talked about how modern culture, particularly social media, TikTok, and all of that, have appropriated all of these mental health terms, which has really watered down and diluted the severity of what they need, what they really mean for kids who really have them in a diagnosable way. So one example was the idea of people posting on TikTok about my intrusive thoughts, one, and needing to touch a pole or needing to do some other thing, do a cartwheel, and then the hashtag would be intrusive thoughts, one, and it's very lighthearted. And while that could be certainly an intrusive thought and a compulsion that someone with, let's say, OCD has, there's a way that this writer was talking about how it's all been so appropriated that it loses its meaning. And in this essay, this writer had I believe it was personal, but I suppose it could have been fiction. We don't know. The narrator in the essay had extraordinarily intense and deeply upsetting and disturbing intrusive thoughts. And so it was very frustrating for this writer to see how in the world it's all become fodder for social media when this person needed a lot of help. Let me stop there and give Rosemary a chance.
Okay, great. Yes, there is this balance, I think, between, the stigma that someone might feel having depression or anxiety, OCD, all of, any of these mental health symptoms, and either being afraid to access help or not knowing where to get help. But and then the other side, I also know, many young people who, it's not so much that it's become a social media in thing, but I know some of the status has been reduced when young people do seek out therapists, and then they do have the courage to tell their friends that, I have severe anxiety and I'm seeing a therapist. And then the other, the friend thinks, oh, well, gosh, maybe I should see someone. And so I think in that sense, it opens doors and makes, reduces the stigma in a very positive way, and, helps young people realize that there is help out there, and that they're not going to find help for their mental health symptoms on TikTok. I mean, that is, that's not the place to look for help. But, so I think, there's this stigma and status thing, can kind of go both ways. And the thing that I think both of us want to drive home is that mental health symptoms are serious. And as a therapist, and I think I can, speak for Emily as well, we take someone's symptoms serious, and we don't, make light of it, and I mean, listening to someone and trying to help them is what we do. So, that, and I mean, that's what therapists do. And I think, if young people realize that there was someone out there that they could trust, to really hear them. Sometimes I think, when I spend 50 minutes a week with a patient and I see them, weekly over and over and over and over, sometimes I think, wow, who spends 50 minutes, sitting down and listening to their child, right? I mean, 50 minutes, it's, I don't think it happens that much. I mean, maybe it does, but I think, it may be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. But I think it's important.
I do every day with both of my kids. Not. I wanted to add a couple of things to that with regard to what was in the kids' papers, because what's interesting, their writing, what was interesting too is that, I know, Rosemary, you just said that you shouldn't be going to TikTok for your mental health. And in many, many ways, again, that's a two sides of the same coin, because while that's often very true, I mean, I see stuff that pops up all the time that's horrific mental health, fake news on mental health, let's just put it that way. But also, some of the essays talked about trying to get help from parents or friends and or even therapists who they got connected with, and finding it extraordinarily unhelpful. And a few of the essays talked about finding communities online, not quick TikTok things, but online communities that they were able to ascertain were legitimate, and actually found that was helpful. Now, that kids need to be careful about that because there's a lot of online communities that purport to listen to a person and understand a person about what their symptoms might be that are actually more encouraging of mental unhealth. But there are some communities in some of the kids' writings that we read, they did find communities that were really useful to them. The other thing I wanted us to talk about too was sort of the cultural differences between status versus stigma, because there are so many. I don't know, Rosemary, if you want to talk about that, or I continue. It doesn't. I'm happy to. But, oh, okay. Well, look, even looking around this room, there's lots of different people who one might guess come from different backgrounds and ethnicities and religions and all kinds of things, and even just the culture of one's own family within how we identify is its own powerful thing. And so there are some people for whom, everybody goes to therapy, that's just a given, and there are some people for whom it's very threatening and dangerous, and it feels very anxiety-provoking, because if you're in therapy, it must mean that you're really crazy, which I would say is not the case. I always say typical people could always benefit from therapy if they had the money and the time, and if you happen to be crazy, it'll help you too. But there is a lot of different cultural perceptions and feelings and beliefs about it, and I think that particularly impacts tweens and teens, because no matter what they give us at home, they don't mostly want to upset us or hurt us or have us shift our perceptions of them or judgments of them, which of course none of us want to do, but we inadvertently send those messages anyway.
So I just want to jump in into I can look out here and see that not everyone is a student. Lots of parents in this audience, and what I hope all of you know is that if your child expresses a need, or you might think, gosh, maybe they need therapy, it doesn't mean that you've failed. It doesn't mean that you're not a good parent. It doesn't mean any of that. All it means is that your child needs help, right? So, I think, as a parent, we take responsibility for how our children do and how successful they are, or how maybe they're not doing well in school, or maybe they're suffering from something. But often we don't know. And as Emily said, teens are maybe not that forthcoming. They like to keep a lot of things, inside. So, I would say better to reach out and find help than to try to shut it down or feel, some kind of guilt or shame that maybe your child needs therapy. The best thing that you could do for your child is get them therapy. That's what I think. I think that's an important point.
And that, what Rosemary just shared, speaks a little bit to another topic that came up a lot, as it should have in this writing, around how can kids get help? How can they get it? How can parents know how to get it for them? And there were lots of really great ideas, and a lot of discussion as to what barriers to getting help were. And I think in previous panels, there was some discussion about financial barriers, cultural barriers, et cetera. But some of the things that the kids wrote about was how their own peer group could be helpful. And there were a lot of essays that described one friend noticing that another friend was in trouble with their mental health, and deciding to find other kids who were also feeling anxious or depressed or lonely, and to meet up with each other and figure out what to do. And just even that act of doing that was empowering and useful for the kids. And there was also some content, again, around, sometimes it was that a teacher at the school or a therapist at the school was very, very helpful, counselor. But sometimes it was that the counselors and the therapists were just sort of checking off boxes. And some of the writing was about how the adults that they were told to go to were not helpful. And so one of the things that I wanted to say to the kids and the parents here is, sometimes the first adult you go to isn't going to be helpful. Sometimes the first therapist you find is not going to be a good fit. Now, I'm not suggesting that you go have 3 sessions with 8 therapists all in a row. That's not going to be so useful for anyone either. But it is certainly appropriate, and I do this, I'm imagining Rosemary does, that someone will speak with you on the phone for 10 or 15 minutes to get a sense of what you're looking for, what the issues are. I'm speaking with the adults now. And so that they can tell you what work they do, and you can think about it as, will this be a good fit for my child? Or if you're a teenager and you're calling yourself or Googling around, does this person have what I think I might need? And the other thing is, to throw any other therapists here under the bus in case they don't do this, but I bet they do, that a lot of therapists will do a consultation in person, for an hour, and I don't charge. If someone then continues to work with me, then I'll charge them for that. But if they decide that they want to talk to a few other people, I won't charge. Because I think people need an opportunity to figure out if they're comfortable with the person they're sitting with in the room. And so for kids, if you keep hearing go to this counselor or go to that parent or go to this one, and you don't feel comfortable, and you really feel like you have good intuition or reason not to feel comfortable, pick another adult in your school. Pick the parent of a friend who you think, like, I could talk to that mom. I like that mom. She'll get it. Or that dad. If it doesn't work the first time around and you don't feel heard, whether you're a parent or a student, find someone else and go with your gut. That's what I have to say. Go ahead.
Good point. I'm conscious of time, right? So, what do you think? Should we talk more, or maybe we should? So, we want to give the awards. Everyone's waiting for that, right? Yes. So, I think across the board, so there were 4 of us rating these essays, and so for me personally, and as I spoke to the other 3, Emily and the other 2 judges, what caught us, I think, were the more courageous writers, the students who wrote about themselves or an experience that they've had. Maybe they were writing about a friend, maybe they made it up just because they had knowledge about a particular situation or a particular type of mental illness. But they wrote it in such a way that was very heartfelt, that we connected with the voice of the writer, and it drew us in and made us concerned also, in a way that, oh my goodness, these are very serious situations that, that young people are living with, and having the courage then to write about it. So that, I think, I would say most of the winning essays had this element of personal voice, which was really important, I think.
I would just add an authenticity, a personality that was very helpful, and I hope that some of those people might be willing to share what they wrote with others.
Thank you, judges, for your feedback, and thank you, participants, for your essays. All of our judges individually evaluated these entries anonymously based on a rubric. It was a tough competition. The gold, silver, bronze stars are nearly 0.1 points apart.
All right, so winners of each category, so there were 2, high school and middle school, had up to $500 for grabs, a letter of recommendation from Governor Phil Murphy, a congressional certificate from Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, and a chance to have their work showcased in various awareness campaigns, right? To give the awards, we call upon Shala Gagliardi here with us. Shala Gagliardi has been with Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill's office since 2019 and serves as her Director of Constituent Services, helping constituents with federal issues. Without further ado, here are your winners for the 2023 Shiv Sirdai MindSpeak competition. Oh, this is for middle school, by the way. We'll do high school after. All right, so the bronze star in the middle school category goes to Iksan Saizan.
So actually, we had not historically named, so kids who are there, they are going to be surprised.
Congratulations, congratulations.
Sorry, we're in the way.
Yeah. All right, the silver star in the middle school category goes to. Yeah. Congratulations. Are you here? Okay, she isn't here. Okay, so finally, without further ado, the gold star in the middle school category goes to Vihan. Congratulations, Vihan.
All right, we will now begin presenting the awards for the high school category. So the bronze star goes to Eliana Park. I don't think we have her today. All right, so now to the silver star. That goes to congratulations. All right, now we have 2 gold stars. Abby Kane and Angelica Agbayani. Congratulations. Oh, I think that one's Angelica.
The outside Livingston students didn't travel, but that's okay. We will give them these awards.
Yes. Here, Shilpanti, go ahead.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, I have to collect my thoughts. My phone is gone, so anyway. Okay, yes, sorry.
Oh, no worries. Let's move off to the side.
Hello. Sorry. Okay. Thank you so much for this afternoon, for your attending and coming here. I have a lot of people who helped me here, and I really want to thank all of them, mainly the providers who came and the sponsors. They were amazing. I didn't have to go around asking for help. Like, people just literally came and said, we want to do this. So to me, that itself is a great thing. There are numerable people, and I'm telling you, I have forgotten them already almost, but I will try. Actually, one or two of the, of course, the sponsors were there, but few people that really stood out was Kim Traina. She was an art therapist. I was so worried about videography. Martha knows about it. And literally, like God, I mean, I don't know if I believe in God, but whatever. Shiv sent her. So she just came last week or 4 days back saying, my videographer, what are you doing for videography? I'm going to offer you the videographer. Can you imagine? And Sean, thank you very much. Thank you so much. That was like one big burden reduced. Then for the, I guess, Barbara Reese, who came for resilience ED therapy, she just kind of came and said, oh, what are you doing for the music? I'm going to offer you to get jazz house kids. I mean, that to me is real help, like just without even asking, they literally came. Other people that I really want to thank is the great Martha Ackerman. And I know Alan is not here, but Alan Karpus and Neely Margolis, who was here earlier. But they have been there for me all the time, every time. I just have to just text 10 o'clock in the night or 6 o'clock in the morning, and I get replies back. They have tough love. Martha tells me, you don't know what you're doing, but I will tell you this is how you should be doing. And thank you, Martha, for that. The other people that have just literally, again, as I said, like, I feel like these are the people, my friends are here, and a lot of you guys know that they have been here for many, many years with me, and last 2 years, of course. But there are other people who just came into our lives in last 2 months, 2 years, and some of them as late as 2 or 3 months. And they have been just, it felt like I have always known them, and they have really helped me in every possible way. So I do want to kind of call out their names. Some of them, actually Neely is one of them as well. Leslie, I don't see if she's here or she left already, but Leslie Stein-Lloyd, I met her through Shiv's Third Eye, and then since then, a lot of this, what you saw, was a brainstorming session that me and her, we had 2 months back, and it kind of went on paper, and then we implemented it. Other person is Parul. I don't know if Parul is here, but Parul is another person. She is, most of you guys know Parul for being the Board of Education member. But beyond that, she has really, really helped me in every possible, whether it is Pride Picnic or this fair. All I had to do was, Parul, look at my creative work, which I am not, and she would just give me lowdown on what needs to be done. So she is amazing. Thank you, Parul. And lastly, I want to actually thank Natasha, Matthias, Samaya, who is sitting here. As I said, like I met Natasha in one of Mikey's, one of the events 2 or 3 months back, and it felt like we are the sisters from a different mothers kind of thing. But Natasha has been here. All those delicious sandwiches that you saw, they were all prepared by Natasha. But that is not where she stopped. She has been doing pretty much a lot of stuff. Half of the therapists and providers that you saw, that was because of Natasha. They are here. So anyway, thank you so much. Beyond that, all of you guys, by just showing your support, by being here, you guys have been supporting us. But more importantly, you guys have been supporting your kids. By being here, you have shown one step further to your kids that you care about your mental health and their mental health. And I wish so many times that we had done this 10 years back, 8 years back, 6 years back, 4 years back, 2 years back. Thank you very much, and we will continue to do this.